So you get my name. I'm Laura. I'm partner engineer on Messenger, and I'm working in London. Really excited to be here today in Riga, and for the DevC launch. So for the next 20 minutes, I'm going to walk you through how to build great experiences on Messenger. But first, I would like you guys to raise your hand if you like to go to the restaurant with your friends and enjoy a good dinner. Cool. So how many of you keep your hands risen? How many of you like to wait for the bill at the end of the meal when you are done and you just want to leave the restaurant? Okay. So this is cool Mexican chain restaurant named Oaxaca. They are based in London, and what they come up with is creating a bot. So basically, when you are done with your meal and you just want to head out of the restaurant, you ping the bot with your table number. Then you see your bill, you pay, and you leave without having to call the waiter to come to your table. So it's a game changer. It's a game changer as well for them because they've seen 15% of the payment coming through the bot. And the waiter staff seen 15% higher tips. So it's a win-win for everyone. There are 1.3 billion users on Messenger, and 8 billion messages exchanged every month between people and businesses. So what does it mean is that probably your users are already on Messenger and waiting for your business to be reachable on that platform. We have a thriving ecosystem of more than 200,000 developers. So when you will build your bot, you will have a great community to support your efforts. So there's multiple reasons why you should be on Messenger platform. Because you can raise awareness to your brand in there, you can acquire customer, give customer service online, and enable transaction like we've seen for Oaxaca. So you may ask, okay, what are the benefits? And there are multiple. For the user first, it's no install because they have probably already Messenger in their pocket, in their phone. No registration needed. It's consistent UI throughout platform on desktop and mobile. And it's a quick time to value because your users are just one single point of entry to access your bot. But for you developer, it's even more beneficial because when you build on Messenger, it's again cross-platform, and you can use any backend language of choice. You can use Java, PHP, Ruby, etc. And when you push changes to your code, it's instantly available to your end user. So your bot is automatically updated on Messenger platform. So now let's see, how do you build your bot? So first, let's have a look at how it works. So whenever there's a conversation, it's just an interaction between the Messenger API and your bot. Your bot is an API as well. So when a user interacts with your bot, you receive an event on a webhook on your API side. And when you want to answer a developer, a user, you just send a call to the Messenger API. Those are the few steps we will walk through. The first one is the initial setup. So for the initial setup, you only need two things. A Facebook page that will be the identity of your bot, the brand if you like, and an app. Who here has a Facebook app already? Okay. So the Facebook app is just a connector between your bot and the Messenger platform. Right. So this is the initial setup that is required. Then let's see how do we configure the persistent component of your bot. These are static components that will live throughout the conversation. So in order to do that, you will need to ping the Messenger Profile API to store this data. The first component that you can set up is a greeting text. So whenever someone lands on your bot, you can display a greeting text to give a bit more details about what your bot is doing. You just send a call to the Messenger Profile API with a payload greeting and a text. The text is personalizable, so for example, you can use the first name, last name of the user to make it more personal. And you just have to append the page access token to that call, and you're all set up for your greeting text. You can also set up a Get Started button. So whenever someone clicks on the Get Started button, it will trigger a welcome flow that will guide the users through the experience that the bot has to offer. In order to set up this button, you do another Messenger Profile call with your payload for Get Started. Thirdly, you can set up a persistent menu. A persistent menu will live throughout the conversation and will be a static button that will be always above the composer. So in order to do that, again, you call the Messenger Profile API with a few buttons. So you can add up to 3 buttons for the first level and add up to 5 buttons nested underneath the first level. The buttons are post-back buttons, meaning that you can include your own payload within them. Cool, so we've seen how to set up your bot, how to configure your thread. Now let's have a look at how you receive events on your bot. You have to set up a webhook on your API side. So a webhook will allow you to receive events that you subscribe to. So the default event that you can subscribe to are messages. When you receive an event, you will receive a payload like that one with the sender ID, the recipient ID, which is your Facebook page, remember, the identity of your bot, and the message. So there's a couple of different messages you can receive on your webhook. They are messages and echoes. Echoes are just reporting what your bot is saying to your user. It's quite useful if your bot is attached to different pages, so you know what your bot is saying to different users. You can also subscribe to another webhook event, which is deliveries and reads. So whenever a message is delivered or read by the user, you will receive an event on your webhook. You can also subscribe to post-back button. So for example, the Get Started button is a post-back button. So whenever someone clicks on it, you will receive an event as well. It works as well for the persistent menu button, which are post-back as well. So there might be cases where the user will not click on a button, but just input a text. And in this context, you will need to understand the user intent. For that, we offer a built-in NLP. NLP is natural language programming. And you just have to go to your app dashboard, enable that. What it will do, it will part the user messages and extract the intent and give you more information and allows you to answer these messages. So the intent that are extracted are named entities, and you will get information around. Oops. So yeah, sorry. So this is an example. For example, for Snap Travel, someone wants to get information about going to Cancun, traveling to Cancun. So what they do is just typing a message, and by enabling this built-in NLP in the app dashboard, you will see entities, which are in that case Cancun and July, and they are location and time. So the way it works is that once enabled, you will receive your message with the entities in the payload. So in our case, the location and the value and the confidence here, higher value, higher confidence. So now on your bot side, what you can do is just fetch this entity with a given name, location, and then in your message handler, just check what is the location, how high is the confidence, and in our case, if it's Cancun and confidence is high, you can say, hey, yeah, of course we will support your booking to go to Cancun. So yeah, so this is the function, and this is the message handler. So your bot will not be a bot if you cannot reply to your user. So now let's see how do you send message back to the Messenger platform. So the way it works is quite similar to the way you receive events. In our case, you just trigger a call to the Messenger API with a recipient ID, which will be the user ID, and the message. Plus, you append the page access token to be able to send that message. So in order to do so, there's at least one permission you need to require. It's the pages messaging permission. This will allow you, your bot, to send messages to your user within a 24 hours time frame. And after this unlimited number of messages within 24 hours, and then plus one message outside of these 24 hours. There's a couple of exceptions. The first one is for airline template and receipt, which can be sent anytime. Other exception as well is we recently introduced message tag. So if you want, for example, to send a shipping update, you can use a tag that we will also see in the next slide. Another subscription is a page messaging subscription. So it's really for specific use case, like for example, news subscription, activity tracker. So whenever you want to send notifications that are non-promotional to your user, you can require this permission and ask the opt-in to your user. So for the message tag I was talking about, it's just a matter of inputting a label. For example, so you have your recipient, you have your message, and here you have the label shipping update, which will be in the parameter tag. So you can send a different kind of messages, text, photos and videos, and voice, but you can also send button, generic template with nice pictures and a title and a paragraph, beautiful receipt, vertical list. When you add up to 10 generic template, it will create a nice carousel. My favorite one is quick replies. Quick replies are buttons that you can display on top of the composer. So it will just save the user time because it doesn't have to type that in. Quick replies are just postback button where you include your own payload within this button. And you can add up to 11 buttons. So now let's see how do you get your bot discovered by the user. There's a couple of ways to do so. So the first one will be to implement a website plugin. Second one will be to use messenger code, parametric code. Third one, to add a call to action on your Facebook page. And the fourth one is to use m.meanings. So the three main website plugin are the Send to Messenger, the Checkbox plugin, and most recently, the Customer Chat plugin. So I talk about the m.meaning. M.meaning is a shortened version of the messenger.com link. So it allows you to share that with your user and append a referral. So you need to subscribe to the referral events. And how it works is that you will receive the text message with some data about the source of the referral. So it's really easy, really useful in a case where, for example, you want to test different newsletters and you give different shortened m.meanings to your user, and then you can test which of your newsletters drive the most traffic to your bot. And then the messenger codes You can scan them from the Messenger camera, and they can have a reference param included into the code. So we've seen how to set up your bot, how to configure your thread, how to receive events, and how to send back events. And now we just seen how to get your bot discovered. But one thing before we wrap up is there might be cases where your bot will not be efficient enough to respond some complex requests from your user, and you will need humans. So for that, we've introduced the handover protocol. So it's just a nice way to pass the thread between your bot and a live agent. So for example, here is Qantas, an airline. And when someone needs specific help, oops. Okay, doesn't run. So if someone needs specific help, for example, for booking his flight, when they click on the button "Need help," they will be transferred to a live agent. So how it works is you have a primary receiver, the bot, and a secondary receiver, the live agent. The secondary receiver will always be on a standby channel to understand the historic of the conversation. So whenever the user clicks on the button is passed between the two receivers. So there's two main resources I will recommend for you to check. The Messenger platform communities, as I say, we have more than 200,000 developers, and communities is great to get supports. And you can find every details about what we've seen today into developer docs and get set up with your bot in less than 10 minutes. So now I will take question.
Yeah, questions indeed. We are still in Baltics. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow. That's going to be how the question time goes. Maybe?
Yeah. So I guess you included as well the recent review around bots, right? Okay, right. So yes, it's indeed changing a lot, because now we require strict review on bots. It's not yet perfect, but we are getting there. So for non-promotional and promotional, we've never really agreed to have promotional content on our platform because we don't want to spam users, right? So you are allowed to do so if you want to send, for example, specific promotional message. You can do so with sponsor messages. But the idea behind that is really to make sure that every content that is delivered to the user will bring value to that user. And regarding our recent policy change, there is a lot of improvement being worked on recently. Yeah, if you have any other question, I will, advise you to talk to Malte here in the room, who is an expert on policy around Messenger.
Hi, my name is Ivars. I wanted to ask about when I open instant games, afterwards they send me these messages. Is that the same chatbot? Like for 4 times in a row, there's spam out of them. The instant games. Do you know what I'm talking about? Okay. So I just wanted to know how to opt out of them sending me those messages.
Okay, right. Yeah. So it's a really good question. Okay. So as a user, you have user control. So whenever, for example, if I want to test a bot and then suddenly the bot is sending me a notification that I don't want, you can just go in the user control and turn off notification. You can also block the bot, and you can eventually report that bot as well. So if you're not happy, if you play an instant game on Messenger and you're not happy about them sending you a notification, you can do either turning off notification if you think that you will be interacting with that bot in the future, or you can block any conversation coming from that bot, or even report if you think that it's not bringing value at all.
Okay, can I do it like in the chat
Yeah.
window? Oh, right.
So there's a button in the when you are in the conversation. You just go in the button on the top, and you will see a different kind of options to do that.
Okay, thank you.
I also have a question.
Yeah.
So which businesses, which industries benefit the most from actually using the chatbots as part of their communication with customers?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So I would say every industry.
Of course.
But so a lot of work have been done recently in the travel vertical, restaurant like we've seen here. What else? Can you guys help me with that?
I've heard that ordering flowers or pizza.
Yes.
Like,
so of course retails. Of course retail.
Yeah.
There's some big retails brand that are on Messenger, and you can just ping to have another look at the product they are offering. I'm thinking about my partners I'm working with. As we saw, like booking stuff online, buying clothes. There's multiple retailers as well.
Yeah, I have maybe a related question to this one. What are the most interesting use cases of using chatbots for, I don't know, maybe the most interesting chatbots, or maybe the chatbots that bring the most value to the company or whatever? What are the most interesting chatbots that you have encountered, maybe?
Okay, so it's quite personal because it really depends on the user. So it depends if it's on a user perspective or on a business perspective. So if it's on the user perspective, it really depends, because for me, Messenger is like an assistant in my pocket. So, a really personal example is that I'm French, I live in London, and sometimes I like to be reminded about French news. So what I did is I subscribed to a Messenger bot that is giving me some French news right in my pocket. So this is really bringing me value. I like travel bots, so airlines bot. Whenever I come to the airport, I will receive my notification on Messenger and have my boarding pass in my pocket. But I like as well, so I was talking about retail again, but for example, ASOS, you can browse there, you can discuss with the ASOS bot there. So it just really depends on what you guys like to do, and just having this assistant just right there. And you can configure, by talking to your bot, you can configure the experience you want as well, so yeah.
Cool. Any other questions? Not yet.